All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Beyond the Box. I'm your host, Mike McCara, and today I am joined with CEO and founder of Build with Rise, Matt Daigle. Matt, welcome to the show.
Awesome to be here. Thanks, Mike.
So, Matt, for people that haven't heard of Build with Rise or Rise, um, what do you guys do?
Yeah, so Rise is an online platform that essentially helps homeowners who want to have a more sustainable home. So we provide folks with resources and now a store where they can actually buy uh, curated products that are better, just better for your health, your wealth, and also the planet at the same time. And you can find us at buildwithrise.com.
So you are literally making the world a better place. You are one of the startups that can say that. So on that, on the backs of right now, we've got the climate convention going on in Glasgow. You clearly didn't just start this company yesterday. So where did the passion come from for you specifically around sustainable building and what you now have with your company with Rise?
Yeah, I mean, we can go way far back if we want.
Let's go
If
far
time
back. Let's
allows
go
here,
far
but
back.
all
Let's go
right.
far back.
Yeah, I mean, so I studied entrepreneurship in school. So I think, luckily, my MBA, I already knew that I wanted to build my own business one day. I don't think I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I left, but I think building a business that has some form of social entrepreneurship to it is something that was very near and dear to me. I read a book by Yvon Chouinard, who's the founder of Patagonia. The book's called "Let My People Go Surfing." Highly recommended. Anyway, after reading that book, it kind of dawned on me that if you're not essentially not starting, if you're starting a business today and you're not looking after not just making money, but you're also not looking after either the planet or its people, you're doing a huge disservice to not just yourself but also everyone else. So I knew that I needed to start a business that would touch on those things, and thankfully Rise is kind of built into our DNA. We just want people to choose and build and renovate in ways that are just going to be better for everybody, not just for the planet but also for the people living in the homes.
So I would love the idea that you read a book and decided to start a company, but I know that that's not the case. So, because usually, if you're an entrepreneur, you've experienced some sort of pain firsthand. So, what was the pain you experienced to take it from, I like this conceptually, I read a book, I want to do something, to I'm starting a company.
Yeah, totally. I mean, my 9 to 5 was in technology, in and I bought a house. And then it was when I got to my second house, which was a huge fixer-upper project. And I was kind of in a rush to renovate it because my first daughter was about to be born. And so I wanted to move in before that happened. And we got the house ready, moved in. Later, Audrey comes along, great times. Great, for a lot of people, having your first kid, it might change things a little bit in terms of the values that you hold. And so for me, I started thinking about the future a lot more. And so now that I have a kid, the paint that I put on these walls after this big reno, is that safe for her? Is that off gassing? We didn't put an air exchanger in the house. Should we be concerned with that? And then I also picked up my first power bill after the reno, and my power bill looked exactly the same after the reno as before the reno. And he would spent thousands of dollars on this thing, and it looked beautiful, and a lot of people focus on that, make sure that it looks pretty. But now we have to actually live here and thrive here, and so that's essentially what pushed me into looking into. At the time, it was really the green building market, and so this would have been in 2014, and there wasn't really much out there. Even at that time. Climate change wasn't really in the mainstream media like it is today, and that's helped our company a lot. It's in terms of the timing of what we're doing, but it was definitely a different time. Obviously, it was on the up and up. A lot of the companies, a lot of the manufacturers of building products out there have been focused on this area for a while, making buildings and homes just tighter, more efficient, greener, so to say. But there's also a lot of greenwashing happening. And so for an average homeowner like me, what does that all mean? But at the end of the day, for us at Rise, we've chosen to really focus on what are the tangibles, and what type of home do I really want, and what are going to be the net benefits, instead of getting lost in the green lingo, so to say.
So I think that's super cool. So talk me through this though. So you go through the experience, you have the same power bill, and you're frustrated. You then like, I'm gonna and then you look for the company, and there's no company that's doing it. Talk me through that thought process where you're like, okay, I'm gonna do something about this.
Yeah, totally. I think at that point in my career, I was hungry. I was looking, I wasn't satisfied in my day-to-day job. And going back a few years to my MBA entrepreneurship days, I was kind of looking for that next thing. And but this was a real pain. I went to, after doing this reno, I went to my contractor, asked more questions. What could we have done differently? I went online. There were a few things written out there. A lot of it was either super technical or really opinionated. Like, you should choose vinyl siding because it lasts really long. No, don't choose vinyl siding. You need to do fiber cement, or you need to do brick, but just give me facts. Why should I pick one over the other? Is one going to be lower maintenance? Is it going to last a really long time? Is it going to be more energy efficient? These types of things. There wasn't any sort of information out there. And I that's really how Rise began. Is we began as a resource for homeowners, and giving them ways, and primarily through writing content that was easily digestible and that any homeowner could read and be like, okay, I feel better about making this decision. Because we all know, when it comes to renovating or building a new home, there's all these decisions that need to be made, and oftentimes it's not that clear exactly on which way those should go.
So arguably, you were that homeowner that didn't know where to look, right? And so now you want to start this company and be this knowledge base. How do you go and become this subject matter expert? Like, what was the method that you guys took on for yourselves to sort of curate, this unbiased view of sustainable, or more I guess thoughtful renovation or building?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it was all about focusing on the homeowner. And I think at our core, that's really what makes us different from a lot of other maybe sites out there, where the focus might be on the professionals or some other stakeholder. Maybe it's on the commercial side, but really we focused on residential home ownership, and we wrote content for everyday average homeowners who just wanted to know what would make their home better, and leaving out the technicalities and the opinions and really focusing on facts. So that was something that we built into our writer guidelines very early on. It evolved over the years, but that our writing team just essentially took on when they were writing about different products and materials, or maybe it was a project or a home that was built or renovated a certain way. It was really important that we stood for the homeowner at the end of the day. And that's, transpired through our DNA until this day. And now, as of this year, we're a very different looking company, where we kind of took that and spun it on its head and said, well, all these homeowners are coming to Rise. And, we do a fairly good job at, advising them on maybe what products and materials they should pick, depending on what their values are. But they're all kind of asking us the same question, which is, where do I buy this stuff? You got me convinced on it. But now, where do I go? And so without us just redirecting folks to, other places, we decided, because we, over the years have started to make relationships with manufacturers, we opened up our very own online store. So all these products and materials that we discuss are now starting to make their way into our online store. So it's a really exciting time for us, obviously, because it's a very different view of where we've been, but we're still staying very true to that, that ease of read and making easier decisions for homeowners through offering content or education or even just as inspiration through photography or even rebates that might help them save.
So I'm so curious, when you started the company, did you see it as a company, or did you see it more of like I don't want to use the word passion project, but something you were passionate about that you were going to do just for the sake of doing because it was the right thing? Like, did you have that bigger vision in mind, or you're like, you know what, this just needs to be there, and so we're just going to do it? Like, what if you can fast or rewind back to that thought process? I'm curious.
For me, it's always been go big or go home. I kind of, from the early days, I dreamt up the idea and, it's more, I shouldn't say dream up the idea. It was more experiencing the problem first, and then dreaming up this idea of, how can we make this into a company, and solving that problem. I think for me, it's always been the mission of Rise is what's kind of stood the test of time through our evolution. At the end of the day, we are trying to bake in sustainability into building and renovating homes, and no one else has really taken that on. Some folks, some companies might try to spring up a few initiatives here and there where they might do carbon neutral shipping, or they might offer products that are the eco-friendly option or something like that, but nobody really knows why. And so that's the research that we've done, and it's baked into our DNA. And so I think the long term of the company, it's all about the mission. How can we take home improvement and just not and take the complete worry out from the homeowner and just making sure that those products are good for them.
So when you have I think such an amazing mission, I'm curious if you've had any surprises along the way as you've built out the team, as you've communicated this to the market, to potential investors. Because to me, it's like, well, why wouldn't you want this? But I'm curious, along the way, has there things shown up and been like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that, or ooh, that was a challenge we didn't anticipate?
I think as an entrepreneur, or as a business owner, you oftentimes you think things might happen overnight. So I think we always underestimate how long it takes to do things, and how many steps there are, how many hurdles there might be. Of course, there's a ton of things that surprise us along the way. I think one thing that's made us much more successful over the years is just how to get your website noticed. Because when you're writing great content, it's one thing to have a website and put up content, but how do you make sure that it gets seen? And I think that's something they underestimated in the early years, as far as spending time on SEO, on search engine optimization. And that's something that we have now, that expertise in-house, and it's made our site much better. It's made our store much better, and it makes sure that it's getting seen by folks. I think the other thing too is the power of partnerships. So that for me, I thought, when I first started Rise, I was a tech guy, and I just felt like, we can accomplish everything through digital, right? We can just, be online, do everything really well online, and, partnerships and industry stuff, okay, maybe later, right? But it turns out that's also a huge piece of our success, is establishing really key partnerships and key relationships over the years with the right folks. And some are complementary, some are, some we're now starting to work with in collaborative ways. And I just think it's just an underrated piece of a lot of online businesses. But for us, it's been totally crucial, and we actually see that we have that edge over other companies because we've chosen to focus on that. And some of these companies, might be big, but they're just focused on the online piece, and the partnerships piece, they just let it slide. And So I think that's why it made a lot of sense to be part of Reach Canada.
So let's dive a little bit deeper on the partnership side, because I think to me that's one thing that is always underestimated, to your point, and it's not just you. I think it's everybody. So what has been your approach to partnerships that has allowed them to be so fruitful?
It's putting people on it. So it's, for us, we have Ashley Abernathy on our team who that's her job. Like that's, we made sure, even though we're a small team, that's what she focuses on. So it's one of those things that can easily be left to the wayside, and it might just be, might be a little bit part of Mike's job, or it might be a little bit of Matt's job over here, or whomever. But we decided early that we were going to, make a role specifically for this, and it's opened so many doors. So I think it's prioritizing it amongst, your early roles. Yeah, does that
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And just to layer onto that, like, how do you see the partner channel shifting too? Because you clearly have the home improvement industry or the construction industry, right? Is one. You have, I would argue, another one with the resale and new home purchase channel with the real estate agents, real estate practitioners, and those people and the developers, right? And then you have the ancillaries, right, that are providing those products as well, right? Vendors, for example, say like a Home Depot, right? And I'm kind of curious, how you fit into each one of those, and did you know the messaging going in? Did you know where the value was, or did you kind of have to figure that one out with each one? And is that the reason why you had somebody in that role?
Yeah, you do have to kind of figure out the messaging for each one. I don't think it's universal. The way that we work for realtors, with realtors, sorry, I believe is very different than the way that we are starting to work with utilities, for example, or professionals, contractors. That's a very, very different message. And so, yeah, to your point, I think it's absolutely crucial to have somebody who's going to be focused on those things, specifically on partnerships, who can figure out, hey, we need to come up with better messaging for this particular stakeholder. But at the same time, I think it's one of those roles that it's easy to it's easy to for this role to get kind of pushed in different directions. So you need to be very, very focused. Which stakeholder are you going after today, and how long, are you focused on them for the next year, or, because it's very easy for any organization to just, go into different directions and play with, 15 different stakeholders that at the end of the day, are they really benefiting your business? And so for us, right now, the key stakeholders are, realtors and professionals, contractors, and of course, homeowners, but there's many others that play out there, but our key focus right now in making sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck are those three.
Love it. So switching gears, I gotta ask you. So, if I wave a magic wand in 3-4 years from now, am I able to buy, quote unquote, an organic home like I can an organic apple, right? And let's swap organic for sustainable. Am I able to go to Home Depot and have, the organic aisle powered by Rise? Like, is that the future we're going towards in your view? Is that what that looks like?
Yeah, I mean, to me, the example you gave is great. Just, being able to walk into your grocery store and going to the health food section. Why can't you have the same concept at your hardware store? So, Rise is kind of married to that idea. For us, we've been purely an online company to this point, but moving into brick and mortar, that would be a fantastic fit. I think it's about providing, at the end of the day, it's about providing transparency in what you're buying. If you're organic apple, well, there's transparency in the fact that, that's coming from a source that makes it that it's organic, that the, no pesticides or insecticides were used to create it. Same goes for building materials. What is it actually made of? Even like going back to my early example, paint that you put on your walls, what is that actually made of? Does it need to, we sell, quite a few different types of paint, but we even have one that's made of milk. So things like that, things that you might, feel better about right off the bat, where it's made from products that you might recognize, where, the name isn't, 30 characters long and have a hard time spelling. That's the same level of transparency that we hope that the industry continues to promote.
Well, it's so interesting and so timely right now too, because even just 30 days ago, maybe 40 days ago, on Google Flights, right? They've started posting your carbon, your CO2 emissions on the flight routes. And so when you're selecting your flights, it's, do you want to select a flight that has more emissions than an equivalent route, right? And so now it's another factor that we're weighing. Do you foresee that with homes and the renovation, that it's not just price? It is that impact going forward. And is that what you're seeing with the consumers coming to the website?
Yeah, that would be an amazing place to take it. Another recent example of that is the company Allbirds, which is a shoe company that recently went public, and they do the exact same thing. They actually publish, the carbon emissions that it takes to create their shoes. And it's different every shoe, and depending on the materials and all that. But that's the type of transparency that's needed. And by the way, they're actually so Rise happens to be a B corporation, a certified B Corp, and so is Allbirds. So it's these companies with this very, kind of very similar DNA that are taking some of these problems on. But I absolutely think I guess in the building industry, we relate to embodied energy is a term that comes up quite a bit. So that's essentially the energy that's needed to create a certain product. And it could be anything from the natural resources that are needed to create it, to the transport of that material, whether it has to come from far away or if it can be obtained locally. These are all things that we need to look after. Buildings take up such a large percentage of the carbon emissions that we produce on this earth every single year. So anything that we can do to help that is going to go a long way.
So on that, when you're endeavoring on such a mission that you are, and really, I don't see any impediment to why you wouldn't. Like, what are the biggest challenges from making it so that every homeowner does want to renovate sustainably? Every practitioner is having this as part of the option. Every contractor is saying, here's the option. Like, what are the biggest challenges for you guys as you see it, for the industry to sort of permeate so that we all are making the built world a much more sustainable place?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, education has been a huge part of it. It's what we initially built our company on, is educating folks. Just knowing about something is already half the battle. Like most homeowners don't realize, like, if you have a basement, for example, chances are you have radon in your house. Yeah. And this isn't, people kind of loosely know about it, but they don't seem super worried about it. Like, radon is the second leading cause of cancer right after smoking. And so these are the types of things that, people need to be increasingly made aware of. And I think it's those types of things where it's all starts with education. I think there's been in the past also a lot of greenwashing in terms of, like, it has to cost more, it has to be ugly, all these things that are like kind of tied to the granola hippie kind of view on things.
It's all made with hemp.
It's all made with hemp, or although there's some great products that are made with hemp.
I'm sure there is.
Yeah, I think it's combating some of those old adages, but you start to see some products really making waves. Like, a few years ago, LED bulbs were just starting to surface on the market, and that was kind of the standard, right? They last as long as you probably will own the house, so you don't really need to replace them, and the cost has gone down dramatically, and they used to be a lot more expensive, but now the costs have dropped. And same with heat pumps or mini splits, which are very common nowadays, especially in Canadian climates where you get the benefits of efficient heating in the winter, but also you get the added AC in the summer. And so these are actually much more expensive products where you're talking, for a midi split, you're in the $4,000 to $5,000 range. Homeowners are still seeing the value in that, right? They know that if they make that investment, and oftentimes it'll be supplemented with government incentives, but they know that if they make that investment, that they don't have to pay $8,000, $9,000, $1,000 a month in heating bills in the winter, just because they have an old furnace, or it's heated with oil or something like that. So it is about creating awareness. You talked about hemp. That's actually a pretty funny subject, because there are a ton of new hemp products making it to market right now, just because of its history as a resource. It was kind of shunned, right? Like people thought of it as that, almost taboo. And now that it's really gained popularity, we're starting to see products like hemp insulation, hemp wood. So there's all these uses for these products. So we are seeing a lot of kind of back to nature type products that are making their way onto the shelves, and homeowners are eating it up. Like when you know that you're installing a product that's made with, grass, basically, you can feel really good about it. I had, my kids, helping me install sheep's wool insulation. You can wrap it around you like a blanket, or you can put it inside your walls. So those types of things, it's better for everybody.
So there's so many things that I want to follow up there. Let's just touch on this one. So you're all around North America with the store, right? The knowledge base is accessible worldwide, but you can ship right now into North America, and you've curated this massive audience, or this massive honing of traffic for consumers looking to make improvements in their house. What are the top 5 things that people are looking for right now? Based on traffic, like, if you're just to use traffic, like what are like the highest search things on your site right now that people are looking for from a sustainability perspective, or can you even say that?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I mean, I don't know if I would say it's maybe doesn't symbolize what everybody's looking for, sure, but at least for the terms that we rank for, and that the traffic that comes to our website. It can be anything from, hemp was one. Air quality is a big one. So that, and especially in the last 2 years, that's just climbed way up. Ton of new innovative products on that front. We actually sell quite a few HRVs and ERVs. A few that are more, I guess, more on the innovative side would be ductless HRVs, which for retrofits, it's fantastic. You basically, instead of having ducts everywhere in your house and having this crazy install, you can just plop one on your exterior walls, and it pushes air in and out and provides fresh air to the occupants. So air quality is one, and HRVs. Prefab is one that has come up quite a bit. So we actually, we've featured a number of prefab projects. Manufactured homes are really kind of the wave of the future when you think about it. We've perfected, the assembly line in making cars, but we never really took the same approach to building homes. So when you can build a home, offsite in a controlled environment, there are tons of benefits to being able to do that, like the precision of craftsmanship, the money that you save on material waste, the time that it takes to actually put up the house, bringing it in parts. And there's different versions of prefab homes. Some are, it's just the walls, some it's the entire, modular piece, or, there's different variations of that. But we're seeing tons of companies sprouting up on the West Coast trying to tackle that. How do we manufacture homes now from scratch? Those are some of the
that's so interesting, because I think if it was 5 years ago, it would have been LEDs, right? Or something like that, where, now it's just, to your point, it's sort of table stakes, right? And, I can't help but think that if I'm a, for example, a real estate agent or a brokerage or something, and I'm contemplating, I'm in, let's say, one of those suburbs where, every fifth or sixth house is a very similar layout, and it's hard to differentiate product, right? And it's not so tough in a hot market where things are selling, but when it's not so hot and you have to differentiate your house, I'm curious to your thought. Like, have you had conversations, and can you foresee a place where people are either selling faster or selling for more because they have this essential sustainability as part of their retrofit versus somebody that doesn't? Because to me, when you're looking at something that could be considered an equivalent asset, you're looking to differentiate. And this is something that you can differentiate with. I mean, I pay way more for an organic apple than I do a non-organic, right? Do you see the same thing potentially being the same way in the built world?
It is, but I guess the only problem is it's all about what you consider, what do you consider high performance, or what do you consider a greener home or a more sustainable home, right? So there's tons of homes out there that, for example, they might be LEED certified. So LEED is the building standard, or passive house certified. That's another building standard. So those are kind of easily identifiable. If you were to tell me, hey, I'm going to sell you this house over here, it's just a regular house, and then you have your certified passive house over here. Those are two very different things. But there might be an in-between, right, which incorporates some of the features of that passive house, or some features of that LEED home, but we haven't really identified them as such. If you can point them out in your listing, that's probably a really good thing. I think one of the things that really shocks me, especially with shopping for homes in Canada, is that I have to ask the realtors what the power bill is every month. Like, why isn't it on the listing? Like, why aren't we just and it might be in some parts of the world, but where I live, that information is not democratized, and I need to actually go and seek that out. Whereas to me, if you're buying a house, you should know what your monthly mortgage obligation is going to be, but you also need to know how much you're going to pay to keep that mortgage up every month. So I think it depends what your version of a greener, more sustainable home is, but as long as you're listing those features, like maybe it has a really nice geothermal heating system, or maybe it has solar panels or something like that. Those are things that, and I think realtors, need to be in the know about those things and how to pick them out, right? Which is actually a reason why we built continuing education courses around the content that we have, that we now sell to realtors.
So, and I just wanted to jump on that for a second, because to me, if I'm listening to this, and if I'm a homeowner, it's easy. I go to buildwithrise.ca and I can see that. But if I'm a practitioner, right, or somebody in industry, and I want to learn more and become more informed, so that I can deliver even more value to my customer, what tools have you guys put out there that allows me to have that better understanding, so that I can be of highest value to my clients?
Yeah, for realtors, we started developing tools. So we essentially, what we did is repurposed a lot of the content that we had existing on our site for homeowners, and repurposed it into these nicely bundled courses. We had them accredited in the States, where it's a little bit different of a process, and some are also accredited just through different means in Canada. But now you can find us in most Canadian provinces, and I think 7 or 8 states currently, and growing, of course. But if you go to learning.buildwithrise.com, you'll actually see the whole catalog and courses available in your area. But essentially, these continuing education courses, as a realtor, you have to take them every year to keep your license, and it kind of dawned on us that there weren't a ton of courses out there that talked about not just sustainability in general, but also like, what's your home really made of? What are some of the things that you could, that you should be able to pick out? Like, if you have, can you go into a house and tell me what kind of water heater is in that house? Because there's different kinds, and some are much more efficient than others. Can you pick out solar when you see it? Can you pick out maybe even the types or the amount of insulation that's in a house? These are questions that increasingly more homeowners are asking, and as a realtor, you want to show that value, right? So that's essentially what our courses focus on.
Amazing. So all that to say, you guys are clearly on to this amazing track. You've curated all this knowledge. What are you most excited for over the next let's say 3 years? You know, what are those like things that you're looking for? You're like, yeah, we're really making progress. And not necessarily from your business perspective, but maybe even just like society, from, you know, building, like what are those things that you're looking for? You're like, okay, this is starting to move.
Yeah, I mean, well, our store being new, that's really been the focus of our business for the last several months, but uh, hopefully much more of that as we continue to grow, add more products, add more SKUs. So you're essentially, you know, the goal being that eventually you'll be able to completely renovate or build your home just by shopping our store. And that's really exciting. And it's been super fun just working with amazing manufacturers that totally get it. They make products that just like, they're going above and beyond it. And some, they don't have it all figured out yet. But they know that, you know, they're working on solving those problems, making their products better. And those are the folks we're excited to be working with, and then sharing with homeowners and professionals who want to buy these products. So over the next few years, it's going to be a lot more of that. It's just seeing the growth of the store for us, which is really exciting. But I think the industry in general continuing to shift towards this kind of new way of thinking that, you know, really asking the question, what are we putting in our homes? And is it benefiting everybody? Is it, you know, we can sell any product really. At the end of the day, any product, you know, it doesn't matter where it's from or what it does. Like, any product can be sold. We can make any company happen, but can you really make a product that solves a problem and doesn't create more problems by doing that? And at the same time benefit folks in either through their wallet, either through their health, or through the planet by just being a little bit nicer on it. So hope that made sense.
How can you not love you and your company, what you guys are doing? Like, I mean, really, I don't know. So for people that are listening to this and they're like, man, I need to be involved. I need to, you know, I have a product, or I want to learn more. What's the best way for people to get more engaged with what you're doing, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, you can always reach us via buildwithrise.com. You can shop our store at shop.buildwithrise.com. We're on all the social platforms. And of course, we are just happy Canadians over here. So we're always willing to take a call, or you can send me a direct email. We're always happy to have a chat. So yeah, just really happy to be here, guys.
So just don't be shy is what I heard. But with that, you know, again, can't thank you enough, not only for coming on the show, but for doing what you're doing. You know, it's an amazing service to not only the industry, but to the planet. So kudos to you guys. Love what you're doing. Can't wait to see what next. So thanks so much, Matt, for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me, Mike. We really appreciate it.